What's up, Leafs Nation? Welcome back to another game preview. I'm Zack Phillips, and today we're going to be taking a look at game number 56 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season as they take on the Carolina Hurricanes here tonight on the first night of a back-to-back, returning to action after this little Four Nations face-off break that we had there of some of the best hockey that I've ever seen. So not entirely sure what to expect tonight from pace and buy-in and all that kind of stuff, but regardless, NHL action returns, and so do the Maple Leafs. So I am very, very excited. We'll dig into tonight's lineups. We'll get into our best bet, and it's all a presentation of Bet365, proud partner of LeafsNation pregame and the LeafsNation After Dark. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N, all caps, code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N, when you sign up today. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Okay. So we're going to head on over first and foremost to Daily Faceoff, and we're going to take a look at what we've got for tonight's lineups. And I'm excited because, we're going to get some of these guys back in here. Nylander, Matthews, Marner coming back from this, and obviously they're coming from a high-intensity style of hockey over there at the Four Nations, which I'm not sure everyone really expected. There was kind of some concerns that, maybe this is going to be like an exhibition tournament and all-stars, and they're not going to go. Well, they went hard, and it was extremely exciting hockey. But on top of that, we get some guys who are going to get some rest, and I'm kind of excited to see how this is going to go. You're getting players returning from injury, making their way back towards getting back into the NHL lineup, whether it's guys like Calle Yarncroke, or maybe you get someone like Connor Dewar who gets a little bit extra rest over that period of time, and he gets a little bit closer. Who knows? Maybe Yanni Hakanpää is making his way back to a return in this lineup, but it's more so guys that I'm looking at like John Tavares maybe gets a little bit of extra rest under him, and maybe he can find a way to kind of dig in here and get an extra push as we head towards playoffs. And maybe the 2 weeks off was this rejuvenation to his legs. Maybe it helps a guy like Chris Tanev, who blocks 10 million shots, and over 2 weeks here, 10 days of the play that we saw at Four Nations, maybe a guy like Chris Tanev got to sit at home and sit in the ice bath, and all of a sudden all of his wounds are healed, and he's starting a blank slate going into this, returning back to action. Those are the kind of players that I'm interested to see how this affected, if it helps them positively, all that kind of stuff. So with that said, let's take a look at what we've got for tonight's lineups, and we'll head on over to Daily Faceoff to do so. So first and foremost, our first line here, you get two players who faced off in the finals at the Four Nations face-off. Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner return to the first line. Matthews centering, Marner on the right wing there, and you're going to get Matthew Knies over on the left side. I think this is probably the right way to return to action. It'll be interesting to see what those guys have in the tank, but maybe a guy like Matthew Knies and the workhorse ability that he's got in him is able to kind of drag them into the fight, even if they are just a little bit having a bit, that international hangover where the pace of play was so high, they're kind of coming back going, what the hell is going on, and trying to adjust back to the speed. Maybe it's Matthew Knies who's like, you know what, I'll be the guy to go out there and hit anything and everything and kind of bring you guys along with me on this journey. Down to the second line there, Bobby McMann, John Tavares, William Nylander. Nylander should have had plenty of rest there returning. His last game in the tournament was a few days ago. He got to rejoin Toronto. He got to practice and skate with the guys. He's being around the team. He's got plenty of rest. He should be okay. You're going to get John Tavares, who, as I mentioned here, maybe he's got a spark of life, shot of life into his legs from this 2 weeks off here. And then it's a guy like Bobby McMann, who is hopefully able to maintain the momentum that he had built heading into the break. This is a guy who was scratched for game one of the season and has basically become like this super important player in your lineup who you're looking at every single night saying, you help Nick Robertson and Max Domi, or you help John Tavares or the first line, because he goes up and down, and no matter who he plays with, he finds ways to be effective. I'm hoping he's able to continue that here in the return, but Bobby McMann, well-deserved spot up in the top six there. Down to your third line. This is where things start to get a little bit more interesting, maybe is the right word to put it. Max Domi, Pontus Holmberg, and Nick Robertson. I made it very clear how I feel about Pontus Holmberg, and I feel like he could bring a lot more to the team this year. We're waiting for him to take steps and waiting for him to kind of get into some type of position where he could be a guy who's going to lock up a third-line center spot or lock up the fourth-line center, and maybe he was going to be the guy who's going to make like David Kamp's life difficult or Connor Dewar's, and it just hasn't really been the case. I know that Craig Berube here seems to like him, and sure, he can be reliable on a defensive side of things, and he probably doesn't make too many mistakes, but there's not a lot that he's bringing elsewhere to the game, and I look for him to kind of do that. And I know we can look at it and say, hey, not all third line players score a lot, and I get that. I'm aware of that. But we're looking at a third line that when Bobby McMahon doesn't play on the third line, they basically aren't scoring at all. And that's a lot of Nick Robertson not being able to capitalize, Max Domi not being able to capitalize, and then you put Pontus Holmberg in there, and it feels like kind of offense has just died with this line. Maybe after a break like this and watching the play that you did, maybe you get inspired, or maybe you come out of this with a fresh mindset and he's able to contribute. But I'm going to be looking for that third line to start generate something down the stretch here, because the pressure's on. And as you head to the trade deadline, March 7th here, which is coming up very, very quickly at this point, what ends up happening is you start to look around and Brad Treliving may go, third line right wing, Nick Robertson, you need to be upgraded on. Pontus Holmberg, Max Domi, you need to be upgraded on. So in a way, they could be fighting for their life, or fighting for their spot in the lineup, or fighting for their spot on this team. Maybe it's not even just trying to stay in the lineup. Maybe it's they're the guy who has to go out for someone else to come in, and they're being shipped off to a non-playoff team. You want to stay here? You got to find ways to generate and contribute to the lineup. To this point, they've been okay, just okay, and you're looking for much more from those guys who are supposed to be players who can chip in and help out on a team that's going to compete for a Stanley Cup. Down to your fourth line there, Steven Lorentz, David Kampf, and Alex Steeves. Steeves gets an opportunity here after basically lighting up the AHL. I kind of like this. I mean, it's a well-deserved opportunity for the guy. He's got legs. He's not played in too many games here with this big club. He's looked fine in the opportunities that he has gotten. I wouldn't necessarily say you watch him jump in like a guy like Bobby McMahon when he got his opportunity and we all turned around and went, oh my God, who is this guy? He's got to stay. Steves hasn't really grabbed it quite like that, but he's been fine in his appearances. He's been very, very good at the AHL level. This is your opportunity to kind of show everybody, I'm not an AHL player. I am a guy who can stick in an NHL lineup. So looking at this one here tonight, I am kind of interested to see if he's able to offer some injection of life offensively to a fourth line that has basically kind of lacked it or been missing it to this point. So those are your forward lines for this Maple Leafs team here tonight. And I mean, you get everyone some rest and you look at the starters and you probably go, okay, outside of Matthews and Marner here, really, who played on Thursday night in one of the best, most intense, high-paced hockey games I've seen in my entire lifetime, you kind of look elsewhere at the other players and you're like, you really got no excuse for not having legs and energy or being banged up or anything like that. You've had plenty of time. You could have got your injuries, mostly healed here or back to close to where you need to be at 100%. Rust, sure, I will give them that, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is some rust in this game today. I'm peeking around at some of the other games that are going on right now, and there's a little bit of some like disjointed play, some passes that are being missed that maybe otherwise wouldn't, just getting back to NHL pace of play for the guys who were off, and then the guys who were in the tournaments coming back and kind of slowing down a little bit because it's just not the same. We can all admit that, but interested to kind of watch how that all plays out. One thing that I am also interested to see how it plays out is what the heck goes on in Nashville from March 20th to 23rd. We are rapidly approaching the date, 1 month out here now. Actually, this time next month, everyone will be down there in Nashville watching the Toronto Maple Leafs take on the Nashville Predators in Nashville. It'll be an unbelievable experience. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, Carter Hutton, all the boys will be down there in Nashville watching the Leafs and the Preds go head-to-head. On top of that, heading over for live podcasts, maybe Luke Shen dropping by. I heard Alberga drop that on the morning show the other day. It'll be an unbelievable time. Make sure to head on over to nationgear.ca so you don't miss out on your chance heading over to Love and Exile. It's just going to be an awesome time hanging out with everybody and getting to watch the Leafs play in person down there in Nashville. So you don't want to miss out. Head on over to nationgear.ca whether you're looking for flight packages or non-flight packages. We've got it all, and it's certainly a trip you're not going to want to miss. All right, let's take a look now at what we've got for tonight's defensive pairings. I mean, it's pretty much as we expected, and it's kind of how we closed things up before we went into the break here. So heading on over to the D pairs yet again at Daily Faceoff, where you should be heading to find all your defensive pairings. But right now, we're going to have on the first pair Jake McCabe and Chris Tanev, and that's kind of just a given. I mean, they've been one of, if not the best shutdown pairings in the entire NHL this season. You know, in the minutes they played together, playing against some of the top competition on the other teams, night in and night out, whenever they're together, they're winning their minutes. They've been unbelievable. Down to their Morgan Rielly and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. This is kind of where you hope that a guy like Morgan Rielly can maybe start to find something. He had it a little bit, picking up some momentum going into this break. They finish things off in Vancouver, his hometown. Maybe he stays and gets to see his family. Maybe he gets a little bit more sleep. You know, he's just a new father here, so maybe that was keeping him up at night. But maybe this gives him a little bit of a reset, and he says, hey, you know what? You've been go. You've been trying to find it here. You started to pick it up a little bit at the end. Let's take a break. Let's take a reset. And let's not feel like everything has to snowball. Let's jump back in here, and we'll be good to go. You are Morgan Rielly. You are a very, very good player, and you're not relied upon to be the number one guy here anymore. You can slide down into the second pairing, and it's all good. We're not worried about it. OEL is a guy who's a calming presence alongside of him. I don't know. I want to see how this kind of jumps out here tonight against Carolina, because Morgan Rielly went into the break looking pretty good. And basically the first time this season, I feel like we've all kind of been able to say that about him, is like he started to look a little bit more like Morgan Rielly. And it was a promising thing. It was a promising feeling. Down to your third pairing there, Simon Benoit and Connor Timmins. I mean, I think Benoit has been a little bit of a drop-off of last season, but still pretty reliable. There's moments here and there, which I think you expect out of a 5'6" defenseman, where it's like, what the heck was that? But regardless, he's been pretty reliable. I think he's a physical guy. I think he engages in the defensive zone pretty well, kind of jumping in there and taking away time and space from guys. He's a guy who doesn't take anything in front of the net, sticks up for the goaltender. It's all good stuff there that's kind of different from what we've seen of Leafs decors in years past. Connor Timmins as his sidekick there. Bit interesting for me, a little bit of a different perspective. He had a very, very good start to the season after like what was not a very good preseason, I thought. And then it's kind of tailed off a little bit, and he's fallen out of favor with the coaching staff. You know, we've seen this rotation here now of Myers, Benoit, and Timmins, and who knows where we'd be at if a guy like Joni Hakanpää was healthy, another right shot defenseman who you'd think at some point, big physical body, might be able to jump in this lineup and just push somebody else down yet again, maybe out of this lineup here. So interesting. I don't know how it's going to go for Timmins here. I want to see him kind of get back to where he was at the beginning of the season. But as for that first or the pairings here and what we've got, you know, I'm pretty comfortable with this Leafs D pairing. D-core for basically like the first time in my life. Down now to the power play units, Nyes, Tavares, Nylander, Marner, Matthews. You're going to get the 5-forward power play unit yet again. I don't know. I mean, we've talked about the power play as much as we could all season long. It's basically been one of the biggest topics of conversation. I don't want it to be a concern anymore. Let's find it. Let's get some things going here. Let's build some momentum. Then you go to your second unit here now. Bobby McMahon, Max Domi, Nick Robertson, OEL, Morgan Rielly. 2 D-men on that second unit. And a couple of guys who you'd probably expect. Some offensive guys or guys you'd expect to have or be generating offense, and Nick Robertson and Max Domi, and then a guy like Bobby McMahon, who very much deserves that opportunity here now. So shout out to Bobby McMahon. And I mean, this is a guy we've even seen get bumped up to the first unit at times, especially when people have been injured or not ready to go or whatever it is, tired. Bobby McMahon has stepped up and looked good in any and all positions that he has gone to. So shout out to Bobby McMahon for his play here so far this season. He's a guy that I have been absolutely loving getting to watch. As per our goalies here tonight for the Leafs and what we're matching up with again in Carolina, it looks like we're going to get Pyotr Kochetkov in Carolina. And then on the Leafs side of things, Anthony Stolarz confirmed to go. How good does it feel to have Stolarz and Wall back here yet again? We had that period of time where it was Wall was out and it was all Stolarz, and then when it comes back, we've got the best goaltending tandem, and Stolarz goes down, and it's Wall and Murray and Hildeby, and it's a mess. And then it basically was just Wall because that was the only guy they trusted. Now you get Stolarz back, now you have Wall, you can rotate through the guys. It feels much more comforting as a Leafs fan to watch these guys kind of bouncing in and out here as things go along, because I'm not like clenching every time the puck crosses the blue line. Like, I feel a lot more comfortable every single time here now, which is a nice feeling. You don't basically panic that they're going to score on some crappy goal, because for the most part, these guys are pretty reliable. So let's now get to our best bet for tonight. And our best bet is, as always, is presented by Bet365, proud partner of Leafs Nation pregame and Leafs Nation After Dark. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION, NATION. That's code NATION, NATION, all caps. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And as always, we're going to head on over to Bet365, our site here. Things actually went into the break looking real good for us there. We are up 6.95 units on the season, despite having a record of 21-37. We are up 6.95 units. We went on a little bit of a heater going into the break there. The last one that we lost was a Max Domi anytime goal against the Vancouver Canucks in the final game. That was a plus 550. We took a little shot on that one, $25 a quarter unit there. And you know what? The way we ended the break, we're going to give it a shot again here tonight. I'm not going to lie to you. We're going to go over to Bet365 into the player section. We're going to go to the goal scorers market. Click show more there. Yeah, we're going to slide down, and then there you have it. Max Domi plus 900 here tonight. Look, this is purely numbers. Bet365 has the absolute best price in the market. If you look around at different sports books, you're not getting even close to this. Plus 450, plus 500, 550. And I get it. Max Domi has struggled to score this year, but there's a couple things that I'm going to at least use to support this, because I'm not just going to blindly bet something and say, whatever, number's good. Yeah, number's good, but there's some other things that I feel like could go into this. Plus 900, very, very good number compared to market. Also, this is a guy who probably knows that he's a little bit on the hot seat. And his name is thrown around in conversations about a trade piece. And does he fit here? And should the Leafs want him? Or do the Leafs need to get rid of him? Truthfully, to this point, where we are now as we approach the deadline, those are fair. And I think he knows that. And Max is a guy I want here. And Max is a guy that I think is a gamer when it gets to the big moment and gets to the playoffs. But he's not showed up offensively enough. And there's been a lack of generation from this guy that I know he has in him, and it's going to shine through and make its statement at some point here. I believe in Max Domi, and maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I really believe in Max Domi, and I believe he's going to be a fit here. We know the pressure is on. We know he's got to break through at some point. So with the guy that we look at right now who's on a second power play unit and kind of being put into this third line role here now where he's going to go over to the left wing and Holmberg's your centerman, I feel like he knows it's time to step up, elevate, and at plus 900, I'm willing to jump on that and take a shot for this guy to break through for us here tonight against the Hurricanes. I just am. I look at Max Domi. I know he's a hungry, feisty player. I feel like over this break, you maybe get to reset. You see some family, you take some time away, and just get some clarity from everything. Maybe I'm overestimating how important this break is, and maybe these guys just didn't matter, but I believe in it, and I believe in some of these guys, and I feel like Max Domi's a guy that this could positively impact here, so plus 900 for Max Domi to get a goal here tonight is going to be our best bet. We're going to put $20 on this one. So $20 is a 1/5 of a unit for us. It's obviously a bigger shot that we're taking at the plus 900, and you got to go over to Bet365 to find this one. $20 profits us here tonight, $180. Look, the reality is, when you're betting something like this, do I expect it to win? No, I don't. But truthfully, I think if you bet this at plus 900 enough, you're going to come out positive in the long run, which is ultimately the goal of betting. And where we're at here right now with what we've been doing this season, up 6.995 units. If you bet everything that we've bet here on the show with the same units and the same bankroll management, you'd be up $695 to this point through 55 games. We're trying to get through and make some of these positive expected value bets and get out on the right side of things. This is one I think is a pretty good bet for us tonight. We're beating the market on this one. I think this is a great bet. So Max Domi, anytime goal at plus 900, taking a little bit of a shot. That's all for me here for the pregame video. This has been a bit of a longer one. I apologize. I know that we're kind of getting back into things. So thank you guys for following along. I want to know what your predictions are for tonight's game. Drop them in the comments below. Reply to this video. Tell me how you're feeling. Share it with your friends. All that kind of stuff. Hit that like button. Subscribe here to the channel, Leafs Nation 401, right here on YouTube. Thank you so much to everyone who watched. Not only are the pregame videos back, not only is the NHL back and the Maple Leafs are back, but the Leafs Nation After Dark show returns tonight right here on this channel following the final buzzer of the Toronto Maple Leafs Carolina Hurricanes game for game number 56 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season. Thank you all so much for watching. We appreciate it as always. We'll see you guys tonight following the final buzzer. Until then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos. Make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.